On this week's episode, we're joined by one of the key leaders in helping shape the future of Illinois State athletics, Deputy Director of Athletics for External Operations, Paul Kabbes. A Bloomington Normal native and a graduate of Bloomington Central Catholic High School, Paul's journey through college athletics has taken him from the baseball diamond and a 2010 national championship at Illinois Wesleyan University to leadership roles at UAB, the University of Illinois Springfield, Louisiana Tech, Oral Roberts, before returning home to Illinois State in 2023. Today, Paul oversees nearly every external-facing area of Redbird athletics, including fundraising, ticket sales, marketing, communications, corporate partnerships, creative services, and NIL strategy. During his first 2 years back in Bloomington Normal, Illinois State has experienced growth in attendance, season ticket sales, donor support, and NIL participation while navigating one of the most transformational periods in history in college athletics. From growing up as a Redbird fan to helping sell premium seating during the renovation of Hancock Stadium as a grad assistant, now helping lead Illinois State athletics into the future, Paul's story is one that comes full circle. Paul, we're excited to have you with us. Welcome to Deep in the Valley.
Thanks, Chris. That was probably the best introduction I've ever got. I don't know if any of that is true. Maybe a small piece of that is true, but appreciate what you guys do and appreciate you guys taking the time to chat today, and looking forward to talking about the Redbirds.
Yeah, you bet. If we can be known for one thing, it's the Valley podcast that gives the best intros.
You guys are really good. That was fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Where I'm sitting right now in CEFCU Arena is 2.3 miles from the house that I grew up in. So my parents moved to Bloomington Normal in 1990 when I was just 2 years old. They were high school sweethearts in a small town in Southern Illinois called Effingham. If you've ever driven by it, there's a giant cross right off the interstate, so you know where you're at. So I was born a Redbird. I was born into this family. I'm the youngest of 4 children. I have 2 older sisters who are much smarter, better looking, and more athletic than I am, and both of them were outstanding student athletes here for Illinois State. They both played volleyball. They were both all conference players. Just great representatives for what we're looking for student athletes. So I grew up coming to games in what was known as Redbird Arena, where basketball and volleyball is played, and now CEFCU Arena. Had the opportunity to see it firsthand and see what college athletics look like and what that business is in the 90s to 2000s, and then didn't go too far down the road. Played college baseball at Illinois Wesleyan University. Chris, appreciate that introduction again. That was fantastic. But I was just a part of a really good team. There's really good coaches and a really good team that I was fortunate to be a part of. And we had a little bit of success, a little bit of luck, and was able to win a national championship. So it was a neat experience for me as a senior to walk off the field with my teammates and have that opportunity. And then my path just kind of, like everybody else, I've kind of weaved my way. So I had my graduate degree at Illinois State University. One of our former administrators, you may know the name, Aaron Leach. Aaron sadly passed away in the plane crash 11 years ago, but Aaron was my first boss in college athletics. And so I'm very fortunate to sit in the office today that I call Aaron's office. When he passed away, he was our deputy AD. And I think somebody was looking out for me when I came back into this deputy AD role. So to be hired into Aaron's role was pretty special for me. So just, this is the way that things work in life. When Aaron was hired in this deputy AD role, he was 35 years old. When Dr. Beggs hired me 2 years ago into this deputy AD role, I was 35 years old. So that's just kind of neat. There's some small things that are tied to there. And so if you believe in divine intervention, that was one to where somebody was looking out for me. And then I had my different stops along the way. My stops have been targeted. I've never been one who have been focused on working at Texas or Alabama or Florida, or the biggest institutions. And I have the utmost respect for those institutions. But I went to a graduating class of 83 kids in my high school. My undergraduate institution was 2,100 students. When you're 6'6" like myself, you can't really skip a whole lot of classes in undergrad when you got about 13 people in your classes. And so that created a sense of accountability for me. So I've been targeted at mid-major or maybe smaller institutions, if you want to call it, and learned a ton along the way. And so when Dr. Beggs called and explained this opportunity about 2.5 years ago, I basically told her, when can I come interview? And part of the opportunity here at Illinois State, I know I'm biased as somebody who grew up here and who works here and has a degree from here. There's 3 P's for me that are part of the job: the people, the potential, and the personal side. The personal side's easy. I grew up right down the road. The people, we have fantastic folks who are here, whether that's Coach Gillespie, Coach Pete, and Dr. Beggs, go all the way down the list. We have really good people here. And then the potential. I think there's fantastic potential for us to continue to have success at a high level. We've won 6 of the last 7 all sports trophies within the Missouri Valley. Our student athletes just had a 3.48 GPA. You guys know those stats and you believe in them. Those are the big things for me. And that's kind of a little bit about myself and my story.
So you actually got your start professionally at Illinois State as a graduate assistant working on the Hancock Stadium renovation project. Looking back, can you share a little bit about that experience behind the scenes and what that was like for you?
Yeah, it's neat because just the other day I was at an event and Shane Zenger was the guest speaker at an event in town. Shane was our athletic director. He's now the president at my undergrad alma mater, Illinois Wesleyan, down the road. And so he was the one with the vision for that and had the investment into football, into that program. I was just along for the ride. There was great people like Aaron Leach and Doug Banks and Jack North and a lot of other folks who were involved in that project, and Peyton Detterding on the facility side. There was really good people who helped get that thing rolling. For me as a 22, 23-year-old, I was trying to absorb as much as possible. I was telling one of our interns the other day, I was scared to take a lunch break when I came here as a GA. I just didn't know what it was. I was a young 22, 23-year-old, and I thought you just sat at your cubicle all day long and just waited for somebody to tell you what to do. I was afraid. I think I lost 10 pounds in the first 2 months of a GA because I just didn't know what it was. And now getting the chance to come back and seeing it come full circle, I didn't really have that learning period when I came back 2.5 years ago. I knew a handful of the staff members. I feel like I knew where our areas of strengths are, and you're always learning, but I feel like I knew where our weaknesses were and where I feel like we can improve. So I think I had a jump or a leg up on some of our other administrators within the league because I'm very familiar with this place. I understand where it's at, and I'm passionate about what we're trying to do. It's pretty special, to be honest with you. I started the job in October of 23. And then we had our Hall of Fame induction ceremony 3 weeks later. So Dr. Beggs tells me I'm probably the only person who's officially welcomed a family member into the Hall of Fame. My sister was inducted into the Hall of Fame 3 weeks later. So it doesn't get much better than your first 3 weeks on the job because you're in the honeymoon phase and you're trying to figure all these things out. And then the real work starts and you got to figure out where the bodies are buried and where the issues are at and all the other things you got to worry about. But it's been incredible. Again, the learning curve was not as steep for me. I love what this university stands for. I love the fact that our institution, we've been around since 1857. We have a lot of alums that are out there that we need to reach and we need to go engage with and talk about the needs of college athletics in the 21st century. So as you guys know, my job is very much focused on the external side and getting to know people and how we mold that vision and how we make it happen for our coaches. So it's been a lot of fun, Brian. There's still hard parts of it, and I know I'm going to lose my hair in the very near future here, but a lot of the things that we deal with in college athletics, at the end of the day, we're educators. We really are. I have buddies and friends who work in much more important areas in healthcare and trying to figure out the world's problems. It's a game. At the end of the day, it's a game. I get to talk to people about sports on a daily basis, and it's not really work. I'm hitting you with a handful of different things, but people talk about work-life balance in this industry. I don't think that exists. The words I use are work-life integration. So first and foremost, I'm a father and I'm a husband. So we have 3 little ones. Our kids are 7, 4, and 2. So we're right in the thick of it. We're in the fun parts of it. And our children think that they own FCS Arena. They think they can run out on the court whenever the heck they want at Hancock Stadium on the field or whatever it may be. And so got to remind them that it's for the student athletes and the coaches. They look up to these student athletes at an extreme level, and we're lucky that we have really good role models and representatives of our brand.
Yeah. But you mentioned Peyton Detterding, and we can't be on Deep in the Valley and not address kind of the relational side of this. You just mentioned it. Brian and I worked with Peyton Detterding at the University of Northern Iowa, and he went on to be at Illinois State and to connect with you. And he's one of the reasons why we're talking today. And so can you talk a little bit about Peyton and your experience working with him?
Yeah, again, I touched on earlier, there's fantastic people, and it's been a while since I've had the chance to connect with Peyton. I need to follow up with him, and this is a good reason to do that. But between working for Aaron Leach, Doug Banks, who I mentioned, Dr. Zenger, Peyton, Larry Lyons, who was on our staff for a long time, Larry's son, Matt, lives just outside of Des Moines. So anytime we're playing Drake, Matt's always meeting me at the game. So that relationship side, like that Redbird family, it's real and it exists. Lana Bordner, who's our chief operating officer in SWA, has been here for 30 plus years. John Munn, our head athletic trainer, I think has been here for 33 years. I remind our men's golf coach, there's a bunch of stuff up in the walls there, and Coach Kralis was a student athlete, and he was all conference in 1988. And so anytime I'm trying to get under his skin, Coach, that's the year I was born when you were all conference year. So that's just part of the industry of somebody who's relatively young in this industry, but I feel like I've been around the block a little bit. It has to be relationship based. It absolutely has to. You're not always going to agree with your coaches. You're not always going to agree with your fellow administrators, but we have to respect each other at the end of the day.
You touched on this a little bit earlier. already, but as you looked at the Illinois state landscape when you arrived,
Yeah.
what opportunities did you see, and where did you feel that the department had maybe the biggest potential for growth? And then maybe can you give kind of a State of the Union address on how you feel where Redbird athletics is today?
I think anybody who's coming in, you're trying to get some early wins. You're trying to find that low-hanging fruit. So anytime we hire a new head coach, we just hired a swim and dive coach. Hey, here's some donors that you can meet early on from the jump. Here's some former student athletes you can meet early on. So part of our job is travel and other things that are part of it. And I'll share some names that you guys know, and we're very fortunate to have some star power when it comes to alums. Just last week, Mr. Collins was in town, Doug, and he was in town for an event, and had a chance to go spend 2 hours with him and just pick his brain. And I don't even know if we talked basketball at all. I mean, we just sat there and kind of talked about life and advice, and he's a friend and he's a mentor. And then I was fortunate enough the next day we were visiting family just outside of Dallas, and that's where Mr. Weidring lives, DA, who our course is named afterwards. So I'm very fortunate in my role to spend time with people like that and alums that we have who care deeply about this institution. And it's been 51 years since they were a student athlete and since they were lacing it up and wearing the jersey or wearing the cap. So we're very fortunate with the people that we have there. So for me, it was early on building those relationships, trying to get some fundraising wins. We've had some naming opportunities here that I looked at, low-hanging fruit. And I joke with our donors, and it's not really a joke, I'm pretty serious. We'll name anything. We'll name a urinal if we have to. We'll name a bathroom closet. We'll name whatever it may be. But that stuff matters. It's people to see their name and the impact that they have there. And at the end of the day, they're making the opportunities better for our coaches and our student athletes. On the State of the Union side, we live in a very fluid industry, and that's putting it lightly. Things are changing at such a rapid pace. I tell our donors that in the last 5 years of college athletics, we've experienced more change than we did in the previous 50 years combined, in my opinion. So we have to be nimble. We have to be adaptable to what we're trying to achieve here. And I have a list in my desk over here of donors who have no desire to give to NIL. I honestly keep a list. That's not for them. Okay, let's talk about some other opportunities that we have out there. But at the end of the day, we're going to ask. We're going to get you involved. We're going to ask. My wife does not love this analogy, but I equivalent fundraising to a junior high dance. The best answer you can get is a yes. Second best answer is a no, because then you can go ask the next dance partner. The worst one's a maybe. Are we actually going to dance? We're in limbo here. We don't really know for sure. I got told no a lot at my junior high dances, and I was not afraid to just keep asking. So that's an analogy that I use for them. But at the end of the day, to wrap up that point, we're in a really strong spot. We're in a good spot financially. The university is just shy of 22,000 students from an enrollment standpoint, so we're moving in the correct direction. We have a president who understands and sees the value of athletics. We have an athletic director who's a fantastic person, who's got a great pulse of where we're at and what we need within our department. We have issues the same way that every place does, but we got student athletes who are representing us the correct way, who are doing the job on and off the field. And I tell any student athlete that I meet, I have 3 goals for you. I want you to get your degree, whether that's 4, 5, 6 years. I want you to get your degree. I want you to win a conference championship. We were able to win 3 Missouri Valley Conference championships this year. And I want you to have some form of postseason success. I was a product of that. Division III, it's different. I know that, but got my degree in 4 years. We won 2 conference championships in 4 years. And as you mentioned, we had a little bit of postseason success. So we had 5 teams compete on a postseason scale this year between football, men's basketball, women's basketball, a handful of other programs that we had as well too, with tennis and men's track and field. So for us to continue to achieve those things, it's going to take a lot of time and effort and energy, but hopefully I kind of tied the bow on what's the state of the union for Redbird athletics.
Talk to us a little bit about the philosophy of branding the Redbirds and of your individual student athletes, because that's part of the college athletics landscape today. And talk about the marketability of an athlete like Johnny Kinzinger or Chase Walker and some of the new players coming in the fold.
Yeah, for us, we're in a unique area. It's where Bloomington Normal is a growing area. But when you look at our league, I think the uniqueness of our league and with the additions of the new member institutions, every place is different. Terre Haute has something different to offer that Normal does. Nashville has something different to offer that Chicago does. Whatever it is, you can keep going down the line. We don't really talk about Peoria at our institution. We don't really talk about those guys down the road, but still have respect for what they're doing. It's just it's a true hatred between those 2 fan bases, and I get that. So for us, we want the Johnny Kinzinger, the Chase Walkers, the Mason Claybos to walk out of this place and see the impact that our fan base can make. And so knowing that you have alums and donors and season ticket holders who are business owners, we want to be creative with the ability to do that. So we've done the events the last couple of years, our Ballin' on Buford event, which kicks off our men's and women's basketball season. And we want them engaged with our season ticket holders. Johnny had an NIL deal with Jimmy John's last year. We want him to continue to have that. Chase had an NIL deal with First Sight, a local apartment company in town. And that's the beauty of where we're at with revenue sharing and name, image, and likeness, giving the ability for these young people to really grow their brand. We're proud that we had a women's basketball student athlete and a men's basketball student athlete who each had car deals this past year with local business owners who want to invest in these young people and want to see them do the right things and promote their brand on social media. And that's what it is at the end of the day. We're holding our student athletes to a higher standard as well, because you're getting compensated for that. There's marketing deals that are tied to that. So from a marketability standpoint, there's 2 staff members that we have, Brandon White and Dayton Hammis, who do a fantastic job on the social media, name, image, and likeness branding. And so the 3 of us, we meet with all 425 of our student athletes, whether you're the star football player who may have 4 different NIL deals, or whether you're a golfer or tennis student athlete who may not be as recognizable, but you're still a brand in yourself. So we want, I know we're talking a little bit more basketball, but we want our student athletes to be held to a higher standard. So when their marketability comes calling and someone says, hey, I'd like to invest in this or that, we're prepared and we have the right information in place for them.
So one of the things that we've noticed since your tenure is attendance growth across multiple sports. What has been the key to reconnecting fans and generating excitement around Redbird athletics?
I mean, it's pretty simple. It's great coaches, great student athletes, and really good staff who can promote them at the end of the day. Whether it's women's basketball education day game and we have 8,000 screaming students in here and it's bad on your eardrums, or it's the growth that we've seen for Coach Gillespie and Coach Peden's program. In the 3 years that we've been here as a staff, we've seen growth every single year when it's tied to that. And the coaches and student athletes, they really put in the work. You know, we've grown our kids club. We've been more aggressive with some of our corporate approaches within the community here. We're really fortunate when we have companies like Country Financial and State Farm and Rivian in our backyard. We're really fortunate with the growth that we can have here and how we can attack those areas. It's very strategic and planned out of how we're doing it, but we have really good people in place who execute and make sure that we can get as many people out here as possible. I still remember as a 10-year-old in 1998 climbing the stairs of Redbird Arena to go to the very top of it and watching Tyrese Bryson and Jamar Smiley and Rico Hill and all those guys play. And we want to get that back. We want to create that. These devices are great, but it's so easy for our fans just to be sitting at home and watching it there or live streaming it on their TV. So we've done in-game MCs for football and volleyball and men's and women's basketball, to where they're pointing out everything that we have going on and they're creating an environment and telling our fans to stand and having more prompts on the video board or whatever it may be. So we're trying to always improve that fan experience. We're doing something in the next couple of weeks here where we're putting all new monitors around the concourse. My staff thinks I'm crazy, which is not normal or not new or anything like that, but they think I'm crazy in the sense of we walk around the concourse of CEFCU Arena and we need to catch up to the 21st century. So we're working to modernize that. We just did a Hall of Fame display last month to where our fans can go up there and touch and say, okay, what does Christy Cerrone did as a player? What did Tyrese Bryson do as a player? What did Boomer Grigsby do as an All-American linebacker? And they can go through and they can look at their stats and look at their history and everything that's tied to that. And then we have some sponsored areas there too, to where you walk up after a game. If you're winning that game on 74, that's very important to a lot of folks. You better believe that there's going to be a QR code right there to give to revenue sharing or give to NIL or buy your tickets for the next game or renew your season tickets or whatever it may be. So we're trying to be really intentional for that with premium seating, with what we're doing in the concourse, what the concession lines look like. We're trying to be really intentional with all those different pieces, Chris.
So what do you hear from fans, community members about making Redbird athletics a part of the entertainment scene in Central Illinois? Because you held up your phone and you talked about streaming every game.
Yeah.
How do you talk to the community and get them back to make Redbird athletics in that area, or even an expanded area, people traveling in to come to Redbird, to make that the norm again?
Yeah, and I think it starts with family. Coach Peden talks about that all the time. You win with people. It's a family atmosphere. This is where we're at, but we want to make it family friendly. So with promotions, with giveaways, with ticket prices, it's the fine line. And my staff ask me all the time, well, Paul, what do you want? Do you want our revenues to be up or do you want our attendance to be there? And they know the answer is both. I want both. I want to make sure we can achieve both of those things. So we need to balance that. We really do. So working through the family side. So the kids club that we have, and this is the first time last year that we put a cost tied to our kids club. And I was very skeptical with the staff, and it worked out because it went from, okay, you get one men's game a year as a kids club member for $0. Okay, now you pay $40 for the kids club, and it gets you all 16 home games, plus all 6 football games, plus all 15 women's basketball games, plus whatever it may be. And so the staff has been really creative in the work that they've done. I can't take any credit with that. So they've really tried to build a family atmosphere. And as I referenced, someone who's a dad, a husband, a community member, and an alum, that's what I want to see. So anytime I'm out here having conversations with folks in the community, you all play a piece in it. Whether you have the naming rights on the arena with CEFCU, and we're so appreciative of that, or you're an Upper Bowl season ticket holder, all that stuff matters. We need every single one of those people to buy into the vision of what our basketball coaches are trying to do and our administration is trying to do, so we can be successful as a whole.
When it comes to promotions and the game day experience and things along those lines, we like to showcase a lot of those different fan engagement events around the Valley. So talk a little bit about the future of the game day experience in CEFCU Arena.
Yeah, and for us, I want to add as many courtside seats as possible. If you're watching the NBA Finals, and it's a far-fetched example, I know CEFCU Arena is not Madison Square Garden, but you got Taylor Swift and Ben Stiller and Chris Rock and Coach Cal and all those other people there. Our fans now more than ever want to get close to the action. And so how do we create that, but also knowing that we have an arena of almost 10,000 seats, it's got to be for everybody. You can't just cater to the folks who are in the donor hospitality room before the game. So we need to have a tiered approach of how we're addressing those people. We got a couple of suites, we have loge boxes, we have courtside seats, we have all those other areas. And we want to be able to reach these people with a handful of different approaches of how we're going to get them involved and how we're going to get them to invest a little bit more. This is the first year that we've done a competitive excellence fee, as we call it. It's a fancy term for how you're supporting NIL. So these donors who are in the list in my desk, they're NIL donors without knowing it. We're not tricking them, I promise. We explained it on their season ticket forms. We explained it on the email, but everyone needs to invest and everyone needs to buy in if we want to get where we're going. You guys know it. It's not a secret. It's been way too long since we've reached the NCAA tournament for men's basketball. Coach Pete and his staff are really aggressive about how they're approaching that and how they're building this so we can get back to that success level. You've seen it with Drake. You've seen it with Northern Iowa. You can keep going down the line. That's an extreme level of success that you're having that's going to help your revenue streams for the future. I tell people all the time, there's only one place on this campus where 12,500 people are going to show up, and that's Hancock Stadium on Saturdays in the fall, or 10,000 people. CEFCU Arena on whatever night, game night is, 12,500 people aren't showing up for a physics lab. I have an extreme amount of appreciation of what our professors and our faculty are doing on campus, but athletics is a universal language. You guys speak it, you guys live it, you guys know it as part of your day jobs and everything else that you're doing. So for us to be successful in men's and women's basketball, that's only going to help the greater profile of the university. So hopefully that helped answer your question, Brian.
In addition to the game day experience, your team works really hard to promote multiple community events. And you mentioned Ballin' on Buford. So how important is it to take athletics outside the arena and directly into the community?
Yeah, it's incredibly important in the community that we're in, where there's a Division I institution, Division III institution, community college in town, 5 local high schools. We're connected to University High School. It's right across the street from us. A lot of our staff members, their kids are going to school there, or Metcalf, or whatever it may be. And I also say we're funded, our budget is a good portion of student fees. So how are we engaging with those nearly 22,000 students? Some of them may be commuter or your traditional 18 to 22-year-olds. It may not be exactly in that number. So Chris, we're really trying to hit a lot of different areas to get to that point. But as I mentioned earlier, it's just the family atmosphere that's within Bloomington Normal. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was kind of like, Bloomington Normal is kind of like this utopia community, and maybe not, I don't know. But again, you're talking to a biased person who's spent a large majority of his life here. I spent my first 24 years of my life in Bloomington Normal as a naive 24-year-old. I got the heck out of here because I was like, I got to get out of here and experience the world. And I was gone for 11 years, and it has a way of bringing you back in and pulling you back in. So for us to do the Ballin' on Buford, we work with State Farm. They're coming up this fall. They do an event called the Million Meal Pact, where they pack 1 million meals in less than 12 hours. And we have our president there, our athletic director there, our student athletes there, So those are events that are incredibly important to us, and we're never going to stop doing them. We host probably more Illinois High School State Association championships than we probably should, but it's incredible exposure. When your head football coach is saying, I want the state championships here. I don't care if they're the same week as the opening round of the FCS playoffs. If we have to go on the road, it's so worth it for the community and the visibility and what it means to this area. And he looked like a genius this past winter, because then we went and won 4 games in a row on the road. So the guy knows what he's doing.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and talk a little bit about how your team and yourself kind of dreams up new promotions or game day event kind of activities to create excitement around attending games.
Yeah, Brian, I think I heard this many years ago at a conference. R&D doesn't stand for research and development in our industry. It stands for rip off and duplicate. We're all stealing ideas from each other. We really are. So when I was my previous institution I was at, or they did a duck toss at halftime, and they weren't the ducks. They just put a giant target at midcourt, and you're throwing these rubber ducks and they're bouncing funny, and people are like, I'm going to go buy 50 ducks tonight. You know, all the dollars are going towards the scholarship fund. So I instituted at the moment I got here. Hey, we're doing the duck toss. I don't care what you guys say or not. We're doing the duck toss. It's engagement. And then you got parents buying way too many ducks for their kids, and they're throwing them all over the place. Our courtside seat holders are getting hit in the head, and I'm apologizing to them. But little things like that, we have to keep it fun. I learned really early on in this industry, we're not controlling the outcomes by any means. So you almost got to turn it into a show when people are coming to the game. You need to show them engagement. You need to show them value. I can't control what Johnny and Chase are going to do on the court and what they're going to shoot from the field that night. They're fantastic young men. They're going to have great senior seasons coming up here, but they're not always going to be on. There's going to be off nights. So we have to be creative with the ability for us to do those things. So when it comes to teas and things that we have coming up, we got some things in the works. When it comes to football, for our home opener, we're going to get a chance to celebrate the 25 season and their run to the national championship game and get a chance to celebrate that. And then men's and women's basketball, we still got a couple of things that we're working on that we won't share just yet. But we got some things that we're trying to put together to make sure that when fans are coming out to games, you want to see an experience. You want to see an atmosphere that's conducive to make you want to come back every single night.
Absolutely. So with the changing warp speed, changing landscape of college athletics, no topic has really changed college athletics over the course of the past several years than revenue sharing and NIL. Can you walk the fans through the world of revenue sharing, contracts, and the fun world of negotiating?
Yeah, I think there's been multiple times this spring, this summer, that I probably had a tweet queued up that said, "Dear agents, here's when our contracts run from, and no, we will not change them. And this is how we're going to," and I'm being a little facetious, but I'll share to a certain extent what we can share. We try and stay pretty consistent. And I mentioned his name earlier, but Brennan White, who's our assistant AD for NIL and our general manager, does a fantastic job. He got his master's degree from here, worked with our track and field team, and then he was moved into this NIL world just before I was hired. And so I work with him on a daily basis. And he's one of the best in the nation, not just within our conference. He's one of the best in the nation. He's really good at his job. So for us, if you're a freshman, sophomore, or junior, we run those, and I'm talking more specifically basketball here for men's, women's basketball. We run those contracts August through July. And so we pay them over 12 months. Gives us a little bit of flexibility, and it also protects us when it comes to the transfer portal in April. Agents don't love having those conversations, but that's kind of where it's at. And then if you are a senior or graduate student or expiring eligibility, whatever that may apply to in the NCAA world now, we run those contracts August through May. So they're 10-month contracts. Graduation commencement in May almost serves as a ceremonious, hey, kind of you're off the books, and then we're moving on to the next class that's tied to that. So for Johnny and Chase, guys like that who are on 10-month contracts, and then when we have new student athletes coming in and agents are saying, well, hey, my client needs to be on an 8-month contract, I'm pretty transparent in the sense of, I get that, I understand that, but as an administrator, I'm looking out for 425 student athletes, not 13 or 14 or 15 student athletes for one sport. I understand the ripple effects that come with each sport, but we're trying to keep things consistent across the board. So we've only had 4 players in the history of Illinois State men's basketball who have been first team all conference twice. And Chase Walker is one of those 4 individuals. And that's what I told him after the season. I'm proud of the heck out of what you've done for this program, But when an agent's trying to tell me, hey, my client needs to be paid over 8 months, well, I've never seen that young man wear red and white. And I got a guy over here who's on a 10-month contract who's been first team all conference twice. So that's probably more information than what you asked for. Conversations we've had the last 30 to 60 days. And I tell Coach Peden, Coach Gillespie, Coach Spack, I don't want you to have those conversations. I don't want you to be the bad person in the conversation. I'm happy to play that role and have those candid conversations, because at the end of the day, I believe that the student athletes know where my interest is at. I'm the one who were there at games afterwards, giving them a high five, whether they won or lost after the game. And that's just part of sports supervision and the administration side of it. I'm very glad I'm on this side of the coin and they're on that side of the coin. I don't know how they sleep at night, especially those football coaches with 105 players on a Friday night or a Saturday night. And we have great kids, but I wouldn't be able to handle that part of it. So I appreciate the relationship that we have. And that's kind of how we've handled it, Chris. We've tried to keep it consistent across the board. And again, I mentioned earlier, we have to adapt. We have to be willing to change. But that's kind of how we're operating and how we're functioning right now. We feel like this is a method for success and a model for success that we have in place. But if you ask me in 6 months, we could change completely and we could adjust the payment structure and how we're doing things. But that's kind of how we functioned, at least through the most recent cycle.
So, and here's a morbid curiosity. So if the contract runs August to July, but a kid enters the portal at the end of the basketball season in March, what happens to the rest of that contract as he enters the portal?
Yeah. So, I mean, we had 3 or 4 student athletes who entered the portal on the men's basketball side. And so we pay our student athletes at the end of the month. And so if the portal, I think, opened April 7th, April 8th, I hate that I have it on my dashboard over here. But so they didn't receive their payments for April, May, June, and July. And so they basically received 2/3 of their compensation. I totally get it. I totally understand it. Some schools in our league are operating similarly. I have conversations with a handful of athletic directors. 2 of the ones who I'm probably the closest with are Nathan at Indiana State and Scott at Belmont. They're just colleagues, and Nico at Murray State. We talk a ton too. I appreciate those guys and respect what they're doing. Not that I don't respect the others. Those are just the ones that I kind of have more of a personal relationship with. And so we pick each other's brains a lot. We really do. And we're not trying to share too many secrets of what we're trying to do. But at the end of the day, I think in college athletics, we need to rely on each other. We really do. We're all trying to, at the end of the day, in St. Louis and March, we're trying to beat the heck out of those schools that I just mentioned. But the other 11 months out of the year, I'm trying to pick their brain and see how they do things and see how they operate. So maybe there's some institutions who say, hey, we're just making sure the kids are paid through March, and then there's no penalty when they enter the transfer portal. It's just the uniqueness of college athletics of, well, hey, coach, I thought we were a family. Well, we are a family, but family members aren't looking for their exit strategy 12 months from now before they're going through there. And so I get it. It's a totally different world where we're at with college athletics. So we want to make sure that we're providing for the student athletes and holding up our end of the bargain. But it's almost like, Chris, almost a signing bonus or a retention bonus, is what I'm looking for. If you're coming here with the intention to transfer as an incoming junior, we want you here for your remaining 2 or 3 years, and we want you to get a degree from this place, because we think it's going to serve you incredibly well. And that's somebody who's spoken with a degree on my wall and have been able to carve out a path for myself in this industry.
That's right. Maybe one follow-up. Can you talk a little bit about current legislation or proposed legislation that could bring about change to college athletics? And then maybe steer it this way for our Valley listeners. Does it impact the future of FCS football, the mid-majors? Just what do you think about proposed legislation?
Yeah, the 5 and 5, I think, is the biggest thing that comes up, and that'll be educating our fan base. I talked about family and I talked about the younger generation. We also have a handful of donors and alum who are not the youngest of individuals that we have. They've been used to coming to games for a long time. And if there's one person who doesn't like the transfer portal, it's the guy who wore number 20 here and was drafted number 1 overall in the NBA draft. And that's just a guy who you came to a place and you were there for 4 years, and that's all you know. And it's the consistency, and that's what you committed to. And I know we're in such a different landscape. So the 5 and 5 would be something that we need to continue to educate our fans on. I believe that will pass. I believe that will go forward in August. So our fans who think that Johnny and Chase, that this is their senior year, just kidding, they could have one more opportunity. Hopefully they get the opportunity to play at the next level, and hope they are able to achieve that. But we need to be very strategic and thoughtful of how we're trying to do that. And I think COVID years adjusted that, of whether you got a center fielder or a post player or whoever it may be, that spot for a high school player may be gone because then this young man or young woman's coming back. So that part's going to be unique for our coaches. I tell our coaches, you're no longer a head coach. You're a CEO of your program. That's what I'm calling it, because you're managing the personnel, the HR, the fundraising, the roster, all the other things. When we have our student athletes sign NDAs, but young people talk. I mean, sure, at the end of the day, they're finding out what this person's making or what that person's making. Probably the part that I hate about it the most is nowadays the kid from Kentucky, or excuse me, the kid from Iowa State goes to Kentucky, and within 24 hours, everyone knows what he's making, or everyone knows what he's apparently making. So that's the hard part. I wish there was ways that we could keep it a little bit more within our own family and keeping that together. But I think the 5 and 5 is the biggest proposed legislation that will just throw another wrench in the plans. But again, you have to adapt to be able to build towards that. I don't know if you were directly asking me if we're going to join FBS when it comes to football. I don't have the desire for that. There was, after North Dakota State made that move, a lot of fans were asking that question from the jump. We overachieved, and I mean that in the most respectful way, with the respect to our coaching staff, for our student athletes. We don't have the highest operational budget in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. We're not even in the top half when it comes to that. We're catching up when it comes to facilities. The crew we talked about earlier, building the home side of our stadium 11 and 12 years ago, Shane, Peyton, Aaron Leach, everybody else who was a part of that, that was a game changer for us. Then we built the indoor practice facility for football. I serve as sports supervisor for football and men's basketball and a couple other sports. I'm on the road with football, not just because I want to sleep in my own bed at night, because we have a 3-year-old coming into our bed in the middle of the night and she's kicking me in the back and other stuff like that, but because I want to see what other schools are doing. What are we up against? Who are we competing against? So I'm trying to go on the road and see that. How are they branding their student athletes? How are they marketing their student athletes? What do their facilities look like? So it's a long-winded answer to your question of stick at the FCS level. And we've been really close to winning a national championship in football. And North Dakota State won, 8 or 9 or 10 of them or whatever it was. And it was time for them to make the jump. I get that. I understand that. I think our guys can be in place to go compete for a national championship on an annual basis. But we need to improve budget. We need to improve facilities. And also knowing that a lot of other sports that we want to be successful at as well. We're in Illinois. It's March Madness is a big deal. I mean, Illinois and Indiana, it matters. So we want to be good at men's and women's basketball, and we want to see the success that can come with that and the ripple effect that can happen.
You bet.
You talked about being successful in basketball, and there are several options for fans to get involved with Redbird athletics on a financial level. What would you like to take some time and share some different avenues of engagement and talk to the fans of Illinois State and also in the Valley, how they can get engaged with one of these funds or more than one at whatever level they feel comfortable with financially?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. We moved from our collective, Empower the Nest. Our collective's still in place because that helps us with a handful of different things, whether it's car deals for student athletes or other things that we have out there. But we've moved the true operations in-house. So the Redbird Athletics Excellence Funds are where folks can make the donation, and then we can earmark from there. Hey, I want to support volleyball, or I want to support softball or baseball or basketball or whatever it may be. So our Redbird Athletics Excellence Fund, we have a handful of folks who are supporting that at a high level, and we're able to be successful. We're one of few within the Valley who, not trying to say anything taboo, but we're one of few in the Valley who really care about football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. That can be debated, but if you look at some of our competitors in the league, football is not a high level of focus for them. We just played for a national championship. Other areas or other teams in the league, women's basketball, they may not have had the success there. We've been wildly successful with great coaches, from Jill Hutchinson to Kristen Gillespie that we have right now, who played at an incredibly high level and is recruited at an incredibly high level. They brought in the number 67 recruit in the nation, a young lady from Waubonsie Valley who's going to be I think she'll be freshman of the year in the league next year. At least we hope so. She's got an incredible upside that's tied to that. So for us to try and be successful in all three of those sports, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, we were one of the few in the nation who had more than 10 wins in football, more than 20 wins in men's basketball, and more than 20 wins in women's basketball. You can probably count that on two or three hands. And for us to continue that success, Brian, the Redbird Athletics Excellence Fund is going to have to be a huge driver for that. We're also in the process right now of getting jersey patches finalized for our institution. So we're not at the finish line just yet, but we have a handful of different folks that we're having conversations with right now to try and get that to the finish line and get that done. And then, as you guys know, it's doing everything else. It's buying the season tickets. It's the Weisbecker Athletic Fund named after Dr. Weisbecker, who was a fantastic athletic director and coach for us, continuing to support that with our donors. And every dollar makes a difference and it all matters. Those are the biggest things that I wanted to be able to share.
So creating a schedule that's exciting for fans helps your teams with the net rankings, and prepare a team for a 20-game kind of a meat grinder of a Valley regular season is very important. Can you talk a little bit about the philosophy that you and Coach Peden collaborate on so that you can remain nimble with the dollars that are allocated to men's basketball? And then any great non-conference matchups you can either share with us or tease for your fans?
Yeah, I know you guys are going to talk to Coach Peden, and he probably can talk a little bit more in depth on that. And he's got Coach Nettie, one of his assistant coaches, is really digging into the scheduling and doing a great job of that. And when you have quality players returning like Johnny and Chase, people aren't answering your phone as quickly to pick up games. And that's a compliment. That's a good thing. So for them, they're going to play some games out in California, and Coach can talk a little bit more on that. But one of the teams who is playing at Hinkle Fieldhouse with us will be one of our opponents who are out there. So you got 3 chances there. You can guess one of the 3 of who we're playing. So that'll be a great matchup for our guys. So they're playing a couple games out in Palm Springs in late November. They're being unique. I'll let him elaborate on this more. We think the traditional sense of home and homes of we go to your place one year and then you come to our place the next year. We're doing a home and home in the same season with a team this year. And we're playing them twice in 31 days. So that's just the uniqueness of what we're looking at. And we've challenged our men's basketball staff of, hey, if we're allocating X amount of dollars for non-conference games, and that's us paying X amount for a team to come in here and you're trying to buy a win or whatever it may be, can we look at more home and homes this year? Can we be a little bit more creative with what we're trying to achieve? I think it's already out there. We're playing at Purdue for a non-conference game this year. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes away. It's right down the road. It's obviously an incredible program. We're recruiting student athletes from that area. Mom and dad for a lot of our players can come to the game, and our alums can come to the game. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to play that game. So I'm encouraging Coach and his staff, go play Power 4 opponents. You have the roster to go there and play those games and hopefully compete at a high level. And then also try and play some regional opportunities and some regional opponents for us as well. So they've done a really good job. If you'll see more home and homes this year, you might see some interesting ones on the schedule of, that's interesting. I don't know why they're going to that game. At the end of the day, I love our fans. I trust our fans. I respect our fans. They don't have a say when it comes to scheduling. They don't. That's just me being very honest and transparent. They're going to support us because they love our student athletes, our coaches. They love their alma mater. They love the institution, and they have strong relationships that are tied to that. So can we go schedule 11, 12 competitive non-conference games to make sure that they are prepared for the Missouri Valley schedule? That's the key. Which might be pulling his hair out some days when it's tied to that. And we probably are talking 4 to 5 times a day on scheduling of, can we make this date work? Can we do this? Because I referenced it earlier, we got a lot of IHSA events. We host girls basketball state championship. We host girls volleyball state championship. We host commencement in the arena. Obviously, if there's women's basketball home games, there's volleyball home games. We're trying to make all of it work. But I love that. I want as many people as possible to step foot in this arena because we're going to put money back into it to improve it and make it better. So hopefully that helped answer some of the scheduling. But Coach Pete can talk a little bit more about where they're at. And I know when you guys talk with him, hopefully he's a little bit closer to the finish line and we can get this thing announced in the very near future.
You bet. So Illinois State has had a tremendous success over the course of this last academic year. We've talked about the importance of men's and women's basketball and football, you're that front porch, but overall, the athletic department had a very successful year with winning the MVC All Sports Trophy. Everybody's having success, the entire university. How that's come to fruition at Illinois State?
It's the people. It's coaches and the student athletes. They're the ones who put in the work. As administrators, we're just trying not to screw it up, to be very honest with you. We're there to support them as much as possible, and they're really doing a fantastic job. We're going to share some information on social media within the next couple of days of the players of the year that we had and the academic year and the academic progress rate, the GPA and the conference championships and all those other things. It's been an incredible year across the board. I think if I'm counting the numbers correctly, this is our second highest fundraising year in the history of the athletics department, only beaten by a year where there was an 8-figure planned gift. Obviously that's in a will and an estate gift that we haven't even seen the dollars to that yet. So from a cash standpoint, it's the greatest number that we've ever had for dollars that are committed and that are paid out there. And my job's easy as a fundraiser to go out and fundraise when you have great coaches and great student athletes who are casting that vision for you and making it pretty successful. So we'll get a chance to share those things. And I think the only thing that Dr. Beggs was talking about it too, winning the all sports trophy and all the other positive things. And she was telling me the other day, Paul, I don't know how this gets better. And we kind of looked at each other. It was like, men's basketball going in an NCAA tournament and winning a game or two wouldn't hurt at all. That always helps you from a revenue standpoint.
Units.
Doesn't hurt. That the lovely term of units that we all now get to calculate that and figure that piece out. So yeah, we've been really fortunate, Brian, and hopefully we can continue to have the success that's tied to this program, but it's a direct reflection of the coaches and student athletes that we have in place here in Normal.
We would love to see multiple teams from the Valley get back to the NCAA tournament in the same year so that the entire league can benefit from multiple units. That actually leads me into my next question, which is basketball has always been a major part of Illinois State's identity. Illinois State's presence in the Valley is definitely one that raises the brand of the entire league. How important is basketball success to the overall visibility of the athletic department? But also then, how do the Redbirds view their place in the Valley historically and in the future?
Incredibly important is the answer to your first question. It's incredibly important. We have to be good at basketball, men's and women's basketball, period. We have to. We need to invest. We need to continue to look at creative ways to keep good people here within our department, and that's student athletes and coaches and everything else across the board. So that's revenue sharing, that's NIL, that's how we brand them on social media. That's how we support every single thing they're doing. What's their dorms look like? What do the apartments look like? What are the other things that we're trying to put together here? So student athlete experience, I think, is a term that's lost, but we truly believe in it here. How are we trying to provide for that? It does not mean that you're going to have a 100% retention rate on your student athletes when the transfer portal comes rolling around. But I believe that we're ahead of the curve, or we've had a little bit better success retaining student athletes. And again, that's the relationships that our coaches have had a chance to build. It's incredibly important for the success of basketball. And then how do we stack up in the Valley? Drake's had an incredible run on the men's basketball side the last handful of years here with different coaches. And that's a testament to what they've built and what they've put in place here. The school 45 minutes down the road, they've been incredibly successful. They've had a lot of success. Our fans won't love hearing that, but that's something that we want to get to the point to where that's the expectation. We talked about it with football in the weeks and months after them playing in the national championship. We need to make it that's the expectation that our football team is playing in Nashville every single year. We need to make that the expectation that men's and women's basketball are playing on Sunday in St. Louis. It absolutely needs to be the expectation. So that's going to take a village. That's not only going to take what we're doing for salaries for our coaches, what we're doing for revenue sharing for our student athletes, but facility improvements. So our practice gym in Horton Fieldhouse is now called the Doug and Kathy Collins Practice Gymnasium. Doug and Kathy not only are proud to be Redbirds, but they're backing it and supporting it financially. Just to be clear, I won't share the dollar amount, but that was not just because he was a fantastic player and all-time leading scorer. That's because he's supporting men's basketball in a direct way and a big way on an annual basis. So we're honored that he's able to do that. We've named the court in the practice facility after another family who supported it. We're going to continue to have improvements. You better believe that after every big win within the arena, I'm texting the CEFCU CEO and saying, hey, when we renew this contract, this dollar amount's got to go up. We got to continue to increase this. We got to continue to make this thing better. So hopefully that answers what you're looking for, but basketball is really important and we got to continue to achieve and strive to be at the top of the Valley every single year.
So we got one last question. Over the course of the last week, 10 days, there's been a little smoke and some rumors out there in the Twitterverse about possible changes or formats to Arch Madness. Bows and I have been a part of the league for so long that we were a part of it when 8 teams qualify and some of you sat at home and missing out on some of those opportunities and things along those lines. So if you're able to comment, can you speak a little bit about Arch Madness and any proposals that may be out there to structure change and your thoughts and opinions on it?
Yeah, I'll gracefully sidestep that question a little bit. I'll answer some of it, but I think Arch Madness is one of the best college basketball tournaments, period. Mid-major, Power 4 level, I think it's one of the best tournaments, period. I think that we need to protect what's good about that. I think you can fine-tune some of the things that are tied to that, but I think that we need to protect what is so darn good about that tournament. And the fact that we're 2.5 hours down the road, and I'm not shy about it, and I tell the folks at the league office all the time, your dream scenario is to have Bradley and Illinois State playing on Sunday. I'm sorry if that offends other people. It's not far from where it's at. It's 2 rabid fan bases who care deeply about basketball and 2 fan bases who absolutely hate each other. So it will make for quite the environment on a Sunday. So yeah, I believe there are changes coming. I know that there's votes and there's other things that are coming to that. And I think there's going to be pros and cons on each side of it. That's part of life. That's part of change. But at the end of the day, we want to try and create an atmosphere to where the men's teams and the women's teams are there together, and our fan bases are getting a chance to support the Redbirds on multiple different days. And then we're able to be there and try and create our path as long as possible. So I think I kind of sidestepped that question. I kind of answered you a little bit.
Oh,
You got enough there to chew on.
No, you answered. You answered it to the best of your ability, and that's all we asked you to do. So that's the Brian and I can't agree more. We believe that Arch Madness is one of the best college basketball tournaments in the country, full stop. I've been to every tournament minus one since 1992. It is a part of our culture in the Valley, and change is inevitable in our society. But I hope that I love what you said. Preserve the things that make it great. You can do some improvements. That'd be great. I mean, we'd love to see actually some student section participation again. Agreed. That's one thing. So good. Brian and I love to end our segments with a couple of quick hitters. So just off the top of your head, you said you travel a lot. So favorite Missouri Valley Road venue?
Oh, man. Favorite road venue. I like Belmont. I'm also a country music fan. Did my bachelor party with my buddies in Nashville. So I'm one who can sit outside and listen to country music for about any time. Scott Corley's a good friend, so I'll throw him a bone. And I think they've done a really nice job with their facility. I think it's the right size. I think they do a fantastic job of maintaining it. And I think it's a great place to watch a game.
Sweet.
So favorite moment since rejoining Illinois State in your current role?
Oh, it's tough to top watching your employer and your alma mater playing for a national championship. I mean, as tough as that was, the end of that game, and just so incredibly proud of our coaches and student athletes. So that one's probably number one. I was lucky to be sitting press row when Johnny hit that shot against Wake Forest at the end of the game there in the NIT. So that one's probably a close second. And then our voice of the Redbirds, John Fitzgerald, he had the pain of traveling with me on that road trip. So we drove separate from the team. So we had a flight back that night on that Sunday night to try and get back into Bloomington Normal. And so we're giving high fives and then sprinting to the airport and trying to figure out where we're playing next and what's going on. And was just incredibly happy for our guys. And Johnny's a competitor, and for him to hit that shot, and we hadn't beaten an ACC team on the road in a long, long time. So it was, and then you see the impressions and the number of views that are on it, whether it's football, men's basketball, women's basketball. It's just great for the brand. When you can see it for the university, it's fantastic for us.
One of the things that I think really makes the Valley a unique league nationally is that when our conference brethren have a win like that in the postseason, we're all Redbird fans that night. And it was so much fun to watch. And so thank you for sharing those kind of things, because I know that that's one thing. I have friends that graduated from schools outside of the Valley, and they don't have that kind of relational aspect to other fan bases in their league. How about favorite event every year on the Illinois State athletics calendar?
Our student athlete banquet is always great, just to see our student athletes get a chance to present the awards and engage with each other as much as possible. I love that event. The Million Meals Pack I talked with State Farm, to see our kids give back and serve the community is awesome. I'm trying to think what else. I'll go with student athlete banquet. It culminates the year. It gets a chance for our kids to get up and talk and share what they loved about the year, what they appreciate about the year. So student athlete banquet, we always do it at the end of April, beginning of May. So that's fresh of mind.
Who was your favorite Redbird athlete when you were growing up?
Oh, man. Probably some of those basketball guys that I mentioned. That team in the late 90s was really fun to watch. And then one of the assistants on staff was a gentleman named Jeff Wolbrin. And then Jeff got out of college coaching and then came back and coached Central Catholic High School. So Coach Wolbrin was my high school coach. And he was the head coach at Denver, and he had worked at UAB, and he helped me get my job at UAB right out of grad school here. So that's just another example for how small this industry is. So Coach Wolbrin is a good friend to this day, and he's a former Redbird assistant. So, I mean, I don't know how you can't love Tyrese Bryson, the way he could light it up and the way he could shoot the ball. So I'll say Tyrese.
All right. So on the other side of that coin, what is one former Redbird that every other fan base loves to hate?
Oh, I don't know if I have one. Again, I've got a master's degree in sidestepping here. I'll twist it a little bit. The athlete that I love play the most was Doug McDermott. You guys remember the Valley when it was Creighton and Wichita State, and obviously
Yep.
Fred Van Fleet has played here, Doug McDermott's played here. I never saw an individual work harder to get the ball and to get to the hoop than Doug McDermott. And obviously his dad was the head coach. They ran it through all that. Fantastic coach, fantastic player. His ability to get the ball on the block and then to operate from there was pretty impressive. So I twisted your question.
That's okay.
I think all of our student athletes are great. I'm sure the people down the road hate a lot of them, but I mean, there could be a new answer come this winter with a student athlete transferring from Bradley to Illinois State. Hopefully he scores 30 when we play Bradley, and then he'll really be hated. So we'll see.
There you go.
So, and the last question we've got for you is one thing Redbird fans should be excited about right now.
One thing they should be excited about right now.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I got like 100 things running through my mind right now. Plain answer is they should be excited about 26-27. I think as good as 25-26 was, I think 26-27 has a chance to be even better. We got some facility projects on the way that we can't share just now, but we got some improvements coming up for some of our sports that I think will be a game changer for us. A chance to defend your all sports trophy and get a chance to do that. But we want to have success in basketball. And hopefully our fans are excited about, this is not a guarantee. This is not a promise by any means. Hopefully we have 2 basketball programs who are competing for conference championships in St. Louis in March.
Yep.
That's what I hope we're excited about for the year ahead.
All right. So, Paul, this has been fantastic. We really appreciate you taking some time to join us and giving Valley fans kind of a look behind the curtain at Illinois State University. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, just a thank you to you guys. You guys do a fantastic job. I appreciate your work. I appreciate your dedication to it. This means a lot to us and to the Valley. So thank you for the time and effort that you put into it.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. And so to our fans, that's another episode of Deep in the Valley. We appreciate you spending a part of your week with us talking about Missouri Valley athletics. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast, share with a friend, and follow along as we cover everything happening in the Valley all year long, from Cedar Falls to Des Moines, Nashville to Normal, Carbondale to Chicago. We'll be here every week telling you stories that make the Valley special. For Brian Duttler, I'm Chris Bowser. We'll see you next time, Deep in the Valley.